Hey there, this is Art Talk with Claire, and I would like to share about how I created a technique that is, I haven't seen it used in other paintings and with other artists, so I think it's a unique technique, and it is something that I find to be very interesting to learn about. And I'd like to share also to get people to see kind of like the progress and like the steps that it does actually take to create a painting, because not people that, aren't painters don't necessarily understand that. And I think it's a really neat process. So the technique that I invented, I don't have a name for it, but it involves two very kind of different techniques. And the first one is glazing. So glazing is using a medium like varnish to make a really thin glaze with oil. So you use it almost like watercolor. It becomes really thin, really viscous. And it is a technique that the old masters used to create, really a lot of layers, and they created some really beautiful, skin tones and things with glazing. So the second technique that is that I use in these paintings is using texture. So, and that's called impasto painting. So Van Gogh, for example, used a lot of impasto. It really is those thick and buttery strokes. This painting is in the same technique. I'm actually really excited about this painting because the longer I do this technique, the more intentionality I bring into the different layers and the textures that are kind of part of the backbone of the painting, along with the drawing, the composition, and the values. So this is an old car that I saw, in this great old car in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And so what I did was just do an underpainting with some really fun texture. So I put this acrylic medium underneath the oil in the sky, and it's kind of this sandy texture. So I am really excited to see how the paint, how the glaze is actually going to look on that sandy texture. And the reason why I did that is because the sky was kind of grainy. I'm also a sculptor, and so I'm always interested in seeing, kind of seeing how things feel. How would the sky feel? So obviously the sky is not sandy, but the graininess in the photo made me think of the sand, and I thought it added a neat moodiness to the piece too. Here on the side, I used a palette knife. So for the windows, they have that like shiny texture, and the side of the car is kind of rusted. I like how the palette knife strokes look, and I also like how they kind of imitate the rustiness of the car. So as far as the rest of it, there is, just basically some neat brush strokes and some neat texture. I use the palette knife again in this corner. So I'm not controlling completely all of the texture, but I'm experimenting with some different kinds of texture that I will then put glazes on top of this, and it will be, in some ways it will be an experiment. It will not be known how the painting will obviously turn out. So this painting is called Sunlit Conversation, and it is one of the first paintings I did in this style. So you can see that a lot of it is black and white. The underpainting is black and white, so that creates the values, it creates the structure, it creates the composition of the painting, and it really allows me to focus on the drawing and getting everything and getting all the values correct. And everybody, you know, we all say in the art world that values really make a painting. The color is kind of the spice in the cooking. It is important, and if something is going to taste good, if something is going to look good, the color is important. But really, the values create the complete structure of the painting. So, and then you can see that after I created this underpainting, I went over it with glazes, like I mentioned. So you can see, like right here, this detail, the glaze over the texture creates an interesting pattern. And it's a pattern that cannot be predetermined, which is why I thought this technique was interesting in the first place. And it's a pattern that is not really controllable. So you can also see how that creates something interesting in the middle of the painting. Another reason why I like this technique is because in this particular scene, I feel like the light is almost kind of a form. So the light is its own entity, and by using the glazing to paint this yellow glaze on top of these drawings, these paintings of chairs, it gives the light, I think, more substance. And I'm very interested in silhouettes and light in general, and how light interacts with objects in space.